Hello, everyone. Welcome to MineConnect USA. We are now on I believe, our 7th episode. I might have the numbers a little wrong, but we have done multiples of these now, had great companies talking about their operations in the mining sector, Canadian companies expanding into the USA market. And this episode will be no exception. We have Highvec Canada. We've got their CEO, Brianna Humphrey, on. And we've got, I've been having some trouble with his last name, Marc Quevillon. Marc, did I get that close to right?
Yeah, that's good.
And he is the Electrical Tech and Supervisor for Highvec Canada. Both of you, welcome to MineConnect USA.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yep.
Yeah, we've in the background. This is actually our 3rd attempt. We've had storms and all kinds of fun stuff to try to make this interview happen. So I hope you enjoyed talking to me for the effort that you put into it, and I do appreciate. I appreciate you resetting with us and making this happen. Okay, Brianna, let's start with you. Just can you give us that high level of who Highvec is?
Highvec is a company that my dad started about 30 years ago. It's focused on high voltage electrical cleaning and condition monitoring. And he's since retired, so I've taken it over with Marc as of this year. And our focus is allowing the mining industry, specifically our specialty is underground, but we do surface work and other power distribution situations. But we clean substations effectively live, so that people don't have to shut down, and so that our customers save money.
So when you say retired, is he a full retired type guy, or is retired as much as possible?
No, like fully retired. His biggest concern is cutting grass and doing farm chores.
Well, that's nice. That's
for my farm.
much deserved, I'm sure. What's that been like for you stepping into that role?
It's been interesting. I've obviously worked with my dad in this company, albeit not underground, but in the marketing, public relations, and administration end, with my dad and my family, because my mom was also the administrator as well. She's also retired, so I've fulfilled both roles. But I've been in it for 30. 25 years now. So being fully immersed in it has been an interesting transition for me. I am a chef by trade, so I own and operate a restaurant and a farm. And I do this as well. So
wow, so you stay busy.
Yeah. It keeps me out of trouble.
Yeah, no kidding. Did the company has the 30 years ago, was it the same business now? Has it stayed pretty true to those original offerings that it has?
Yeah, pretty well. Marc can attest to this. Marc's been with us for 25-ish years now, around 20 years. So it's pretty much like the condition monitoring came a little bit later. But yeah, pretty well the exact same. Not much has changed. Maybe a little bit more high tech now, but not much more. It's a fairly kind of low tech.
Yeah, we've evolved our job. We've evolved our work to get to be more efficient and better at it.
Right, but you stayed in that. I mean, that you're in such a unique. You're in that market that as soon as I saw the company come across as, oh, this is a company we're going to feature, I went, oh yeah, that's a thing that needs to happen at these sites. But it's not the first thing that pops into your mind. But you're really in a niche market, and so you came in. How long have you been with the company, Marc? 20 or 25 years?
Well, I started for the company in '93, and I left in '95 and came back in 2005, and so I've been there since basically 2005.
And so that market, it's. I guess maybe capture what you've seen in the last over the years as what has allowed Highvec to stay sort of on top in this particular space you're in.
Well, basically, the condition monitoring is a key point to what we do as far as safety. The safety of others, the safety of ourselves. We got to do condition monitoring first, but that came in later. Um, as far as I'm concerned, well, the company evolved like quite a bit, and just the only thing we really did, the process is the same.
Mm.
The only thing we really did was just implemented condition monitoring and more safety features. We've adapted the arc flash before it came in effect, and before it really came mandatory to wear it. We were working arc flash gear.
Where was the cleaning process? Can you just quickly walk us through that? Because it's sort of unique. I think I've got this right. You use because I don't know your particular space very well. You're using corn kernels. Is that, do I have that right?
Not the kernel. Actually, we're using ground up corn cob, which is an old process that has been out there forever. Like Hydro has been using it. GE has used that process. We use compressed air, and then that's what we use to clean. And in a different situation, we'll add either walnut shells, sometimes limestone, and that helps out the cleaning. But it's also biodegradable, it's non-conductive, and it's safe in the environment.
So why did that process come into the industry? How did it end up being the product that's used?
Uh, if I'm correct, don't quote me on that one, but I think Hydro and GE use that process to clean turbines.
Mm. And then so that this was adopted. So this is probably an older system, so this was before Highvec came in. This system was being used, and now you're using it. Um, the other key component that I want is you're not, when you go into clean, you're not shutting down these mines. Is that right? This is the sort of the idea of being non-intrusive is sort of the big selling point. I'll let either one of you take that topic.
So we do this all completely live, and it's 100% safe. In our 30 years, we've never had one single lost time incident. We've never had an accident or an issue. We work very safely. So the key is, if you're working safe and you're mindful of this, then you're not going to have any problems, right? So yeah, so we do this all live, so we can clean all the particulate that ends up on your substations and your switchgear and your junction boxes. Because underground, it's quite dirty. You have diesel particulate, general kind of dust and grime and water. And this allows for the mine to continue its operation, but allows for Mark and our other technicians to go in and do condition monitoring to see if anything is going to be a kind of an issue before they start cleaning, and then they can clean your substations without an interruption to your processing
How
or
often?
processes.
Yeah, how often would a mine, like, how often would this cleaning even happen?
We kind of suggest every once a year, at least condition monitoring and cleaning once a year. That's what we suggest. It depends on the environment. It depends on the mine. It depends how dirty the mine is, how much dust there is, how much diesel particulate there is. So, and it's to the discretion of the client too, right?
What is what are sort of the signals that you're seeing when you're going into a mine? I imagine a lot of your clientele have been your clients for years, but there's new ones coming in. What is sort of the metrics you're using to say, okay, this is getting into a high risk area, and it needs to be serviced?
Well, that's done through condition monitoring first, and then visual survey. Like usually when we get into a cross cut or a sub cutout where there's a substation, we do a very good visual. Then we do the condition monitoring. We open the switchgear up, and that's going to tell us the tail if it's dirty or not. And usually, if we go every year, most of the time, if it's dirty the first year, it's going to be dirty the next year.
So the conditioning model, you've mentioned that a couple times. Is that that's not just a visual thing. This is a technology you're also using, right?
That is correct. We use infrared, we use ultrasound and ultrasound detector, and also a UV camera.
So this is coming on site. Now you're operating this. So this isn't something that you're sending to a client. You're actually going on site and doing this?
Yes, we're doing all the condition monitoring ourselves. And then what we find, we do reports to send to the client. And if it's an emergency, most of the time, if it's critical, we probably won't even clean the transformer because it's probably going to put us in danger or somebody else.
So, what would be an example of an emergency? What would you be seeing?
Like if it's a really bad connection on a transformer tap, um, loose part, loose compartment inside the transformer, um, anything that really jumps to you. Like sometimes you like I've seen. I got an example. I found actually dynamite caps inside transformers.
All right.
Uh, yes, we found some tools inside transformers. So those are kind of critical and loose, especially loose components. Once we start the process of cleaning, that might move around and actually cause an arc flash or, you know.
So on the
So that's
oh, sorry, Mark. I was just going to wondering on the loose components. Are you now? That's not the scanner picking that up. You're then physically checking those for the components.
yes. Oh, yes. So that's the physical aspect of looking at everything uh, that won't fall into electrical equipment and what's inside the electrical equipment. That is going to tell us the details of what that equipment's in shape.
Sorry to jump in, but
Yeah,
and then with
Oh, go
the
ahead.
rest of our condition monitoring, we can see hot spots. We can see if there's corona eating wires and like corona vapors, and we can see a couple different things. And then with all of the knowledge and things that data that we collect, we create very detailed maintenance reports so that when the mine does go to shut down, the maintenance department has some sort of guide to deal with any issues that might be happening in these substations or uh, switch rooms or whatever it might be.
So with before the conditioning well, I'm sure there's always some version of the conditioning monitoring, but before all this came in, then how was it? Was it just like depending on what the client needed, you come in annually? Was there, 20 years ago, was there an inspection process? How has that changed even the way that you one communicate with your clients, but also how you deliver the service?
In my heydays, when I first started for Highvec, we just clean insulators and we just had started cleaning metal clad transformers underground. Then I kind of left for 10 years. When I came back, the condition monitoring was already implemented.
Mm. And so
So previously
yeah,
to the condition monitoring, well, honestly, my dad is just he's been doing this for so
Visual.
long. He would just go in and kind of
just
like
go
look,
in, yeah.
and sometimes you can hear and smell things that are happening with electrical currents and electrical wiring. And so he would just effectively suss it out, which is why when condition monitoring came into effect, he obviously started instituting it not only for our safety but for the safety of people around working around those substations underground. And then it works a lot better for our clients because they get a full
Right.
maintenance report, and it's a lot easier for them to deal with. So that's why it was implemented after a while. Safety mostly.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that consistency is also a big value for your clients because now
Yes.
they go, okay, I'm getting this report in a year. I'm going to get another report. They can look over a period of 5 or 6 years now and see how they're going, even maintenance, different maintenance crews. All of a sudden, they're being able to adapt their production based on reporting like this. Are you seeing that type of feedback?
Oh yes. I can give you one example of one place we detected corona in a junction box, a 4160 junction box, and they didn't do anything. So within a period of 24 months, that's from the first inspection, second inspection, and third inspection. It was just on the third inspection, 24 months later, that junction box was just about to blow because they didn't do anything in between. So they had an initial inspection, year one, year two, another inspection. It was not too bad, but they cleaned it, but they let it go. Year three, that's when it was just about to blow up.
As with anything that requires maintenance, anything that can be followed through a data point, right? Like if you can follow your maintenance schedules, will
Yeah.
extend the life of your equipment, right? So instead of like portable substations just being kind of allowed to get dirty and then blow up and then being replaced, you don't necessarily have to kind of follow that path. You can have them cleaned and
Yeah.
they'll live longer, much like maintaining your car or anything like that.
So
Oh,
now I just wanted to switch over now to going in because this is the MineConnect USA series. Now you're sort of setting your sights on the US market. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Brianna?
Well, for the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years, we've been working in Alaska at Tech. And during the pandemic, Highvec closed just the logistics of trying to move gear and equipment and people into different
Yeah.
mines around the country and into other countries. It was too much for everybody. So we closed during the pandemic. So now we've reopened. And obviously, a lot of people, there's been a large job turnover in every industry. So now trying to get our customers back in other countries has been kind of interesting. So I was after Alaska, and then as I'm doing my research, I noticed that Nevada is a wonderful hotspot for mines, specifically Elko. Is like effectively we're in Timmins, so Elko I would argue is the Nevada version of Timmins, surrounded by many mines and just asking questions to their maintenance department and stuff like, what are you doing with substations? How are you maintaining that? I discovered that there isn't kind of like an industry standard down there right now. Like currently, the industry standard in Canada, other than using us, is to go with dry ice and CO2 cleaning. But in Nevada, it that doesn't even really seem to be the industry standard there either. So I flew down to Elko to kind of check it out, and I think it could be a wonderful, lucrative new spot for us, and I think it would be great for the mining industry in Nevada to have a different way to maintain their high voltage power distribution systems for cleaning. So
So you've
I figured
got
let's give it a try.
so this is interesting. So you're coming in to that market. There's not five other companies doing it. It's not really a standard. It's not really being delivered in that area. So you're now having to get them on board with just the system that you're even offering, right? Do I have
Yeah,
that right?
considering Yeah, so Highvec is the only one, the only company of this kind in the entire world. There is nobody else that does what we do specifically. There's other companies that kind of do facets of it, but nobody does it live. And that's a great selling point to mines. Like shutting down for a week outside of your regular shutdown time, just for maintenance issues, is very costly.
Yeah.
So allowing some sort of electrical maintenance and maintenance direction for these companies that currently kind of, as far as I could tell, maybe I'm wrong, but just talking to some of the maintenance and electrical supervisors in Nevada, there doesn't seem to be kind of a path for that. So, and I figured that would be a fairly lucrative thing for us to scoop in on.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it does seem like. And Mark, to bring you in on this, it seems to me then if you're talking to new markets or people are asking, do you still run into people that they like if they don't know that Highvec is doing it? I guess the two options are they either do a shutdown or they just don't do the maintenance. It seems to be
yeah,
that's the setup.
that's exactly what's going on. And a lot of companies are choosing not to do the maintenance, and that's too bad. For me, you can still do a shutdown, but yeah, the most lucrative way is live work. And I'm fully trained. I've been doing it for the last 25 years. Um, a lot of people think I'm maybe crazy. It's just
Crazy's good
it's
for
like any other
TV.
job. Once you have your job, like it's not any more dangerous than scuba diving or going into any other type of like skyscraping or to me, it's the same thing as long as you follow the safe procedures that we have in place.
Right. And but that's an educational piece for that, and both of you can
That's
get on
correct.
this.
Yeah.
It's educating people on your approach.
Yes.
Because if you just walk in, in Nevada, there's 5 different mines, and you go talk to them, they need to understand. I mean, you of course you do, but now you need to actually be able to get one
Yes.
on one with them and help them understand.
That is correct. When they say live work, everybody says, "Oh," they raise their hand.
Yeah, yeah,
What when we go in there, we have our limited approach. Uh, we actually non-contact, so
right,
we're not like a regular electrician that go in there troubleshooting. They're full contact. Everything we do is non-contact. So yes, it is live, but once you do all the proper procedures before you do the live work, yeah, the outcome is the same. It will be safe and prosperous.
How do you communicate that, Brianna, as you're, trying to grow the company and looking at new markets? How do you communicate that to, on your first contact with a potential client quickly so that they understand it?
Yeah, they're always very interested, shocked that we do it live, always. So it's all about education, right? So you're just educating them, you tell them about your process, you explain that we've never had an incident,
Mhm.
we are very safe, obviously no contact. Um, and it's just a case of like building a relationship. That's how we got into the market in Canada, just building long-standing relationships where
Mhm.
you can see our work. So usually what I do is I'll speak with someone, or if they want to contact me, and then I can put them in touch. Like it's, you know, um, electrical maintenance for underground mines, even though there are a lot of underground mines, is actually a very small community of people.
Right.
So, and they pretty well all know each other, especially if you're dealing with Nevada. We do a lot of work with Newmont. Newmont and Barrick created Nevada Gold Mines. It's a joint venture. It's not too hard to find someone in Newmont
Right.
that does business with us. So it's a case of like, if you want to feel a little bit better about our process, you can I can direct you towards someone that has been using our process for 20 years or
The,
whatever it might
Mhm.
be. But the case is just with any market that you're venturing into, that you've never been in before. Typically it's just a case of excessive education
right.
and and doing things like this podcast,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Well, I hope we.
to
Yeah.
to help kind of get people more comfortable with the idea and excited about our process and excited about the idea of using our our us and our live line cleaning, I suppose.
So you mentioned like Newmont and companies of that scale. And Mark, maybe I'll bring you in for this one. The smaller operators, are they, well, actually both of you on this. The Are they adopting your services? Is this mostly larger scale operations that have to have a maintenance plan and reporting and those types of things? Um, or is there an opportunity? I mean, I'm just thinking of from the maintenance side. Like you have for instance, this arc flashovers case study that I was sent, and I want
Yeah,
to talk about that a little bit more. Are there smaller companies that maybe aren't adopting your services that are sort of putting themselves at a risk of a higher price tag down the road if something goes wrong?
that's a hard one to answer, but we do some smaller businesses, but not a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
Not
Well, we
cost
do.
effective.
Sorry, let me just hop in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do. It is viable for a small business.
Okay.
Or a smaller project or whatever it might be. So, for instance, we deal with Georgia Pacific and their wood mills.
Mhm.
Um, so we do like the forestry industry as well, which obviously
Okay.
doesn't have nearly as many substations as an underground mine. We do surface work for just some mines. We do like power departments and that kind of situation. It just depends, kind of if this it saves money for the customer and if it's a viable solution for them. It it works in all aspects. In like, like our municipality could use it, and it would save them money. It's just a case of like, if we're mobilizing down to Nevada, right? Like, the key is just to kind of round everybody up so that
Mm,
everybody's covering the mobilization, and it's not just stuck on one small mine or one small operation. So the key is to
mhm.
get us while we're in your area, and then we can
Right.
kind of double down.
Right. I see. I want to go back to the arc flash overs in a second, but I also wanted to ask, where, from a technology standpoint, I mean, and I ask this question with the understanding that you deliver a very specific service that's been
Mhm.
maintained for 30 years. That in itself
Yeah.
is a company strength. And now you've adopted the condition monitoring. Is there any other sort of technology, or do you sort of keep your eye out for another level, another stream? How do you sort of approach the business development side?
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
Like, well, go ahead, Brianna.
no, no, go Mark.
Yeah, for sure. We keep our eyes peeled for any other technology that can help us in our work. Anything that makes life easier or better, and especially for safety
Yeah.
and for the clients. Yeah, it's always wide open. Like, we have no problem with that.
And what's your approach, Brianna? As role of president for within the last year.
Pretty much the same deal. I love technology. I'm very technologically forward. I'm always looking for new ways to make my life easier. Um, and my guys' life easier. So we're constantly looking for new items that we can add into our repertoire, that we can expand into. That maybe we can absorb into
Mm,
Highvec, and then have like a different stream, so that when we do arrive on site, we can solve a multitude of problems.
right.
Um, but yeah,
It's not an easy
we're
thing to do,
we're
though. It's not an easy thing to do when because you've got such a solid base. Like I spent quite a bit of time checking out your company and, reading. I think some of the stories, and that you're such a solid stream. I guess the thing is you have to be quite careful tacking anything on because you're sort of known so reliable in this very particular space, right?
That
yeah.
is correct. Yeah,
And we're a very small company, so there's only so many of us, and we don't want to overload ourselves and offer a subpar product.
Right.
So we maintain a very high level of service, with exceedingly great quality and wonderful reports that Mark spends a great deal of time on, and we don't want to take away from that.
Right.
So while we might add in some things to our repertoire, they're always like an accompaniment,
Yeah.
and they definitely accentuate what we already do, and not necessarily in a different, completely different stream.
Right. Um, I wanted to just wrap up with a little bit of technical clarification. Mark, you talked about arc flashovers, and then also you talked about corona discharge a little bit.
yes.
Um, the corona discharge, can you just clarify? I'm sure people in the industry know, but I don't actually know what that is. So can you clarify what that is?
So basically, corona discharge is the definition is the electrical breakdown of air. So it's caused by electrical stress, by righty bend or you know uh, crisscross on wires, touching metal clad,
Mm,
and then you get your environment, which is dust, humidity, and so what happens, in especially in a junction box, you'll see all these in conjunction, and what is just it's going to cause corona there, and because there's no air movement. So if there's a small gap or no gap at all between two conductors, that air becomes ionized and it becomes a conductor, and that's
mm.
what starts the air becomes conductive, and that's what starts your corona.
Is that connected to what can lead to an arc flashover, or are those two separate things?
Yes, what will happen there is just the corona will lead up at the insulation, and eventually it'll cause a pinhole, and
Mm,
it'll arc phase to phase or phase to ground, and then you'll get either a nuisance trip, and it'll trip once, then you'll go there, reset it, or it doesn't trip again. But after that, the second trip might be a full arc flash.
wow. How often, if you went to 100, if you did the condition monitoring for 100, how would it be 1% issue? Would 10% of those locations have an issue? What would you, obviously you don't have the
Uh,
exact number, but what,
100% of those location have issues.
really?
Yeah, it doesn't matter which mine or which mill or where we go. We always did find Corona in 5 kV and up,
Wow. Or uh,
at least once or twice.
really?
Yeah.
So so these mine operations, and they don't have, you're the one supplying that data. Until you tell them, they don't know.
Sometime they'll find out once they get an arc flash
Right.
or
Yeah.
a
I guess
nuisance
if something
trip.
happens. Yeah.
But there's also Telltale Tales. Sometimes you'll go into a substation and you'll smell ozone. If you
Mm,
smell ozone, that means you got corona somewhere going on in your in your substation or junction box.
right. Yeah, it's interesting seeing. I like, every now and then I get to interview a company that is just, it's just again, like I said at the beginning, that I didn't, just never thought of that. And I've opened up, you know, transformers and stuff, and seeing all the, but I've just thought, get an air thing and blow them out. I just never really knew much about it. So it's quite interesting to have you both
Yeah.
on. Brianna, I should leave the last question to you, and I'm just curious. You have a bakery. I actually went on your website before on that side, before the interview. And some of the cakes look quite good. I'm here in Vancouver. Those offerings would probably do quite well here, I have to say. But what I mean, the differences must be quite, the two very different worlds, for one. But what is the same though? What skills maybe have you brought in from doing, that very retail type and presentation environment, versus very brass tacks, boots on the ground industrial environment?
The interesting part is they are vastly alike for a couple of reasons. They are both very disruptive technologies. I am the only farm to table. Actually, there's a couple more now, but I was the only farm to table restaurant, certified local, making really innovative food in the whole region. So I spent my we've been open as a restaurant for 8 years now, but previously as a farm for about 13 years. So
Wow.
total, I've had to educate my entire market and create the market in order to sell within my market. And we have always been very innovative and kind of ahead of our time. And it's a case of like Highvec is also a very disruptive technology in the sense that it disrupts the idea of CO2 cleaning or just letting things explode or just never cleaning them. And they're both a disruptive path of kind of
Yeah.
innovative veins that I work within. So it was, other than the fact that it's a different medium, it still requires the same amount of hustle and grind and grit and tenacity and the ability to really be able to educate what you're doing to your new consumer and grow a business. And I think I've been doing that for a good amount of time. So I
Yeah.
felt like it was a not a bad transition for me.
And I have to ask the obvious question: how do you manage both of those?
Obviously, Marc is he does all the technical managing
Right.
and he deals with the crew. I have a lovely chef de partie that runs my restaurant for me, even though I am the executive chef and I do make all the menus. And I have a lovely husband who does all this with me.
Right.
And even helps Marc with technical headset issues. And he is definitely the other 50% that nobody kind of ever sees because he doesn't like being on camera or in
Right.
photos and stuff. But we definitely share the workload, and it's been really interesting. it's really lovely. It's really nice to watch Highvec, who's a wonderful, environmentally friendly uh, company, now work on the same site as an organic farm.
Mm,
And Highvec plants 600 trees every spring on our farm. And it's now just become a nice, cohesive, really environmentally forward kind of group that I run now.
wow, that's amazing. Well, and Marc, you've been with the company a while now, so I hope you're still having
Yes.
fun doing it.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it. This is my passion. Yeah, when Brianna offered me to come back in, I couldn't decline. So yes, this is a passion for me, um, and I'll keep at it until I can.
Well, thank you both very much for coming on the show. MineConnect USA is actually, it's really given me insight into areas of Ontario. That whole region. What's that region that you're in? You're located in Timmins, right?
That's
Yep.
correct.
Yeah, but that whole region of Ontario is, I'm a BC boy. Grew up on the West Coast, and well, I guess I grew up in the interior and the West Coast. But to get that insight, it's been a lot of fun, and just meet people like yourself. It just almost from different worlds in a lot of ways. So it's quite.
Hmm.
Really do appreciate both you taking the time, and I hope we get to do it again.
Hey,
Oh, it's
appreciate
been a
it.
great pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, it
Thanks for
was
having us on.
right.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We do have more episodes of MineConnect USA Series. And thank you for MineConnect to help for working with us to put this all together. We, of course, will have links to Highvec. You can go check out more of what they do and contact information, their LinkedIn page, all the things like that. Thank you very much, everyone. We will see you on the next episode of MineConnect USA.